Today's our lectionary reading on Matthew's Gospel is about the parable of the talents. So before I start my sermon, let's watch a short video clip together. This is from America's Got Talented. Have you heard about America's Got Talented? Have you seen that? Okay, thank you, Son. Can you do that? We can't. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. He's so talented. You know, there are so many talented people like him in this world. There are so many people talented. Jesus once told the story of a wealthy man who was preparing for a long journey. He called his 3 servants and divided his money between them, each according to their ability. To one servant, he gave 5 talents, to a second, 2 talents, and to a third, 1 talent. Why is life like that? I don't know. We are all equal in the eyes of God. We are all guaranteed equal rights under the Constitution. In an election, our votes are all equal. But when it comes to our abilities, we are as different can be. God simply did not make us all the same. There are some people who can handle 5 talents. There are some who can handle only 1. There are some people who have great intellectual capabilities, and some who do not. There are some who have the ability to project and articulate their thoughts, and there are some who can't. There are some who have physical ability and attractive looks, and there are some who do not. The important thing to remember is that each servant was given something. No one was left idle. You may not be a 5-talent person, but you have some talent. We all do. And you know something. I think that there are a whole lot more 1 and 2 talent people in this world than there are 5-talent people. There are some people who seem to have it all. I won't deny that. But most of us are just 1 or 2 talent servants. Well, you know the story. The man who received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 talents more. So also the one with 2 talents gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 talent, you know the story, dug a hole in the ground and hid his master's money. Where? In the ground. After some time, the master of the servants returned to settle accounts. The man who had received 5 talents went first. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master was delighted. Well done, good and faithful servant, he said. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 talents came and said, Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. Again, his master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 talent came. He shuffled forward with his eyes downcast, afraid to look his master in the eye. Master, he spoke in a low mumble. I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your money in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. Let me pause here. If you had never heard this parable before, how would you expect the master to feel? He had entrusted his wealth to his 3 servants. 2 of them had not only protected that with which they had been entrusted, but they had doubled it. Now this 3rd servant is asked to account for his stewardship, and it says that he had buried his master's wealth in the ground and had not added even $1 to what he had been given. If you had been his boss, how would you feel? Disappointed? Frustrated? Perhaps even angry? Well, you got it right. His master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed? Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest." The significant question is, why? Why did he choose to do nothing with the 1 talent that had been given to him? Why? We are not really given the answer. We are left to speculate. And that is precisely what I would like to do this morning, speculate about his inaction. First, he perhaps did nothing with his 1 talent because he feared failure. How did he word it? "I was afraid, and I hid my talent." Fearful of doing the wrong thing, he chose to do nothing at all. This was perhaps a man who did well under supervision, but now he is left on his own and he is terrified. We view this man with contempt because he hid his talent in the ground. But our contempt is misguided. This was considered the traditional way of saving money in that day and time. He was being a good conservative businessman. He was not going to risk someone else's money by buying into some speculative venture. He wanted to play it safe. And what is wrong with that? Simply this: you cannot love if you are not willing to risk. What is the risk of love? The people will not return our love. But as the people of God, we are called upon to the people of daring. Friends, if Jesus had played it safe, we would not be sitting here this morning. Someone said, the major themes of the Christian faith, caring, giving, witnessing, trusting, hoping, cannot be understood or lived without risk. I want to be faithful to this text, so I would say to you, go and take risks. Take risks and don't fear failure. Perhaps the second reason why this 1 talent man did nothing with his talent is that he played the game, if only. If only I had been given the talent of these other 2 men, then I could have accomplished something. We like to play that game too. I would love to teach a Sunday school class if only I had her ability. If only I had his voice, I would sing in the choir. I would support the church if only I had a little more money. We would fully support the mission and ministry of the church if only we had a little more money in the budget. Maybe when we complain that we wish that we had more, if only we were like someone other than ourselves, if only, God says to us, use the gifts I have given you. Stop crying out when you do not have and start concentrating on what you do have. You could measurably strengthen this church if you simply reactivated some of your inactive members. Start using some of your unused gifts. Start giving some of your one talent sums of money. Simply stir up what you already have. To me, however, neither of these reasons really gets to the heart of the issue. I really think that the one talent man did nothing with his talent because he thought to himself, well, my one little talent will not make any difference anyway. There are a lot of people who feel that way today. In the church, we often decide that our contribution is not significant. Our contribution couldn't possibly make a difference. And so we quit helping, serving, supporting, etc. We stop doing that which we have been given to do. We drop out. But I want you to know that from our perspective, our contribution may be small, but from God, it is crucial. Jesus says to all of us today, this morning, use the gifts that God has given you. It doesn't matter what you have, use the gifts that God has given you. I don't know when I spend hours on a sermon every way that it is going to make any difference at all in the life of anybody. But I do know that it is better to try than not to try. I don't know that if a teacher makes an effort to reach out to a troubled student, that it is going to make any difference in the long run. But I do know that it is better to try than not to try. May I remind you that when the Good Samaritan stopped to help a beaten victim on the Jericho road, that day he did not resolve all of the social, political, and economic problems of first century Israel. But he did what he could. And that is the issue for us. I would like to ask a question to you this morning. Think about this question. Are you doing what you can, where you are, with what you have? In the name of the Father, the Son,